Governor Kim Reynolds called the GOP-controlled legislature for a special session to consider sweeping new restrictions on abortion. The new law, which bans abortion after 6 weeks, will end Iowa's increasingly rare status as a Republican-led state where abortions are allowed up to 20 weeks of pregnancy. The new limits would add Iowa to a list of conservative states, including Indiana, North Dakota, and South Carolina, that have passed abortion restrictions since the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade last year. Well, consumer price growth falls for the 12th consecutive month to 3%. Inflation data released today showed a pronounced cooling and offered some of the most hopeful news since the Federal Reserve began trying to tame rapid price increases 16 months ago. Now, slower inflation is unquestionably good news because it is allowing consumer paychecks to stretch further and is inflicting less pain at the gas pump and in the grocery aisle. The Justice Department has abandoned plans to defend Donald Trump in a lawsuit brought by E. Jean Carroll, saying in a court filing yesterday that it no longer believes Trump was acting within the scope of his presidential duties in 2019 when he allegedly defamed E. Jean Carroll while denying her rape accusation. The reversal lessens Trump's chances of escaping liability in Carroll's remaining lawsuit against him. Joe Biden is confronting a pissed-off generation of young voters who may be decisive in the 2024 presidential election. One pollster sees flashing red signs on youth turnout as Gen Z and millennial voters who are not satisfied with either party could again play a decisive role in the next election. Biden campaign now is fighting back. It says that it will enlist surrogates who are younger and popular with Gen Z and millennials to help make the case for the Democratic president. Among them are Tennessee Representative Justin Jones, a 27-year-old state legislator who was expelled by Republicans after protesting in support of gun limits. And they're also calling on 26-year-old U.S. Representative Maxwell Frost, the youngest member of Congress from Florida. Bad news for men of color. A new report out says men of color often get cancer in unexpected places, leading to late diagnoses and poor outcomes. Melanoma is a far more deadly disease in Black men who may get skin cancer in unexpected places, such as fingernails and the bottoms of their feet. Now, this is according to a study of more than 205,000 cases. The study doesn't give us the answer as to why, but it does shed light on these numbers. The Republican-led House is expected to vote as soon as this week on a $886 billion bill that aims to shape Pentagon policy next year. But its path to passage faces a potentially messy partisan battle over abortion access, LGBT rights, efforts to promote diversity in the military, and other politically charged social issues. Teens buying ghost guns online with deadly consequences as unserialized firearms proliferate on the streets. Teens discover the ease of obtaining weapons they couldn't get from a licensed dealer. Teenagers have discovered the ease with which they can acquire the parts for a ghost gun, and they have been buying, building, and unfortunately shooting the handmade guns with alarming frequency. Because many ghost gun parts manufacturers do not consider their frames or receivers to be firearms, they do not believe they are required to conduct background checks or refuse to sell to teenagers. A ghost gun kit can cost between $800 and $1,000 and can be bought online. Now, for years, the makers of ghost guns point to letters issued by the ATF that ruled that an unfinished frame or receiver was not a gun. You are listening and watching Areva Martin in real time, and I'm your host, Areva Martin. This is your one-stop destination for today's trending news, expert analysis, and my unfiltered opinions. I am joined today by two brilliant contributors. One is a regular on the show, Allen Orr. He is an immigration attorney extraordinaire and a proud graduate of Howard University. And joining us for her debut appearance is Mona Lisa Johnson. She is an activist and commentator. They are going to help me in hour one break down today's trending news and give us some of their unfiltered opinions. And in hour two, we are going, as we always do, behind the headlines and talk about those stories that have people talking. And today, that story is about patriarchy. Yes, for decades, scientists have believed that early humans had a division of labor, that men generally did the hunting and women did the gathering. I never did believe that story. And now, as you know, this view hasn't been limited to academics. It's often been used to make the case that men and women today should stick to supposedly natural roles that early human society reveals. And we know urban tales like this one causes many people to believe that men are superior to women and that men are natural born leaders and that somehow women should stay in their inferior roles. Well, I'm going to talk to an expert who has a lot of knowledge about this new study out that debunks this myth and helps us understand how male patriarchy is embedded in our society by choice and not because of archaeologists' finds related to early humans. And in hour two, Congresswoman Barbara Lee is here. She's here to talk about California reparations and what's going on in Washington. But before I bring on my guests, here's what I'm thinking about in real time. I am so excited that the trial regarding the fight over Aretha Franklin's estate was resolved. And now it was resolved via a jury verdict. As you all know, Aretha Franklin had 4 sons at the time of her death. One, unfortunately, is disabled and has a conservator that represents him. But her other 3 sons were fighting over the validity of 2 wills. Aretha Franklin had a will that was apparently tucked away in a secure box, but later one of her sons found, or I guess her niece discovered, inside a notebook in 2019, a will that was stuffed like between, the cushions of the couch or underneath the couch. And a dispute ensued between her sons. Ted White Jr. was against her son Kekalf and Edward Franklin. And the 3 of them were fighting over her estate. Now, Aretha Franklin did not leave a formal will prior to her death in 2018. She was, however, in conversations with a law firm and an attorney about making a formal will, but unfortunately she died before that. So here you have these 2 competing wills, and there were some differences. Both of the wills divided her estate between or amongst her 4 children, but the different wills named different sons as the executor of her estate. The will that was handwritten in the notebook and pushed between the cushions and the couch named her son Kekalf as the executor. And that is the will that the jurors decided was the legitimate and valid will. That will also gave that son, Kekalf, the rights to move into her Bloomfield, Michigan home. So he and his family now will be taking possession of that home, which they say is worth over $1 million. And one of the really positive notes for me about this story is that Aretha Franklin died with an estate worth $80 million. Now, some may say, why is that shocking? And perhaps even why wasn't the estate larger given the kind of success that Aretha Franklin had as a performer? But here's the reality. We have seen too often African-American celebrities, entertainers, singers die. And what the family is fighting about is oftentimes debt because there is nothing in the estate. They've been robbed. They've been defrauded by managers and agents. Oftentimes singers, unfortunately, don't have good money management skills themselves. So they have, wasted a lot of money in their estate, therefore has no assets at the time of their death. Again, we need only look at some of the biopics of really successful Black singers to see this story played over and over again. So I want to give it up to Aretha Franklin for managing her money well, for making good choices as it relates to those who helped her to manage her money, and to leaving a legacy, not just her her incredible catalog of music, but leaving an estate worth $80 million. Now, it saddens me that the sons had to go to court, that they sued each other, and there's been this 5-year battle over her estate. But I'm hoping now that the financial piece is resolved and they know who the executor is, that maybe these brothers can come together in love and harmony and do what any mother would want their children to do, which is to be, in harmony with each other, because she does have a bunch of grandkids. She has nieces and nephews and other family members. So we want to see this family healed, and hopefully this process allows them to start that healing process. So again, I want to give it up to Aretha Franklin for leaving some pretty substantial coins to her family. When we come forward, more on KBLA Talk 1580 with today's trending news and my expert contributors.
Is the pen mightier than the sword?
They say the pen is mightier than the sword. At KBLA Talk 1580, we not only have a lot to talk about, we have a lot to write about. Politics, relationships, business, empowerment, and culture. The all-star roster at KBLA Talk 1580 has you covered.
That's what it's all about.
Be sure to follow us on all our socials for our latest book releases, op-eds, essays, and commentaries from our hosts. And, of course, download the KBLA 1580 app as we strive to remain your most trusted, credible, and reliable source for the issues you care about. This is unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
What up, baby?
Tell me I'm the boy that girl. I'm young, gifted, and black. And that's a fact.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
Hey there, I'm Jared Hill, president of the National Association of Black Journalists of Los Angeles, and I just want to say thank you for the benevolent $10,000 donation and scholarships for the next generation of black journalists.
And I'm Haywood Galbraith, photojournalist and founder of the Minority Photojournalism Institute. Thanks, KBLA, for your generous $10,000 scholarship gift to help us train the next generation of black photojournalists.
Congratulations to all the students who will benefit from the scholarship dollars raised at our Black History Month luncheon, honoring black legends in LA media. When we come forward at KBLA Talk 1580, we're bringing everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us.
Access granted.
In a survey conducted by the public opinion research firm Eviderus, KBLA Talk 1580 consistently emerged as the station of choice for black audiences in the Los Angeles media market and beyond. The survey also revealed that the vast majority of black audiences are concerned about the lack of black-owned media and are more likely to listen to talk radio that focuses on issues that impact the black community. For some reason, the other talk stations haven't quite figured that out.
If you think about KFI, well, KFI only has like a 3% black listenership. 3%. So there's a good 97% out there to support a station like KBLA.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black. Your black. Your black.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram at KBLA 1580.
Follow the leader.
Are you ready?
The station leading the way with exclusive interviews,
Follow the leader.
stimulating conversation, and intellectual discourse that empowers, enlightens, and informs.
Follow the leader.
Follow the leader at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Keep following the leader.
Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Gotta stay fresh, my house shot with a rest spot, shot with a rest spot, shot with a rest spot.
Have you visited us online for the grand opening of KBLA.store? For the best in new merch, gift ideas, books, media, and more, log on to KBLA.store. Be sure to check out our KBLA team favorites at KBLA.store today. That's KBLA.store for all the official merch on your favorite talk radio station.
We are back, and this is hour one of Areva Martin in real time. And this is the hour where we break down today's trending news with brilliant contributors. And joining me is immigration attorney Allen Orr and Mona Lisa Johnson. She's an activist and commentator. So, Allen, welcome back. Always a pleasure to see you, my friend. This one is for you. I was doing a happy dance when I saw that the Justice Department abandoned the plan to defend Donald Trump in that civil lawsuit for defamation brought by E. Jean Carroll. We know it was the Bill Barr DOJ, Department of Justice, that was providing a defense for Donald Trump when E. Jean Carroll sued him. But I never believed that the Justice Department should have gotten involved in that case. And now the Justice Department is saying, look, because of the $5 million verdict that E. Jean Carroll secured against Donald Trump recently in a New York court, a case that involved both defamation and claims of sexual, misconduct or assault on the part of Donald Trump, they're saying there's no basis for him to claim that any defamatory statement he made about E. Jean Carroll was made in the scope of his presidential duties. Were you surprised that this Justice Department has taken this position and the timing of which they are now asserting it?
Not surprised. I mean, I think we should say that Merrick Garland, when he came to his office, also supported what Bill Barr said. And so then he had to change his mind as recently after the ruling came out. And then after President Trump went on CNN and said what he said, saying that clearly this, his comments were not in the presidential fashion then, and they clearly aren't even now. And that's what sort of led him to make this change of opinion. But once again, I think it was the wrong decision in the very beginning. So I'm just happy that they're making the corrective flow. We all want to protect our president when there's a president to make sure when they make statements in the line of their duty that is protected. But this clearly was outside of that scope.
Yeah, and I'm glad you made that point, because at the same time, the Justice Department is fighting to prevent Donald Trump from having to give a deposition in a wrongful termination claim filed by former FBI agents who are claiming that Donald Trump targeted them. And for the very reasons that you just said, they're taking the position that the ex-president should not be deposed in that civil lawsuit, that there are others who have information, because we don't generally want our president deposed, in these kinds of matters. So any claim that Trump is making that the DOJ's refusal to continue to represent him in the E. Jean Carroll case because they are somehow targeting him because he's, leading in the polls, that's just another fabrication. That's more gaslighting by Donald Trump. This DOJ is being incredibly consistent and fair and representing him when they should and not representing him when they should not. Let's talk, Mona Lisa, let's get your opinion about this Iowa vote. So you have the very popular Governor Kim Reynolds calls this special session of the GOP-controlled legislature in Iowa saying, look, let's get this law passed that bans abortions after 6 weeks. We know most women don't even know that they're pregnant in the first 6 weeks. So for all practical purposes, this is a complete ban on abortions. And Iowa had been one of those states that had not enacted a law as restrictive as other conservative states like Indiana, North Dakota. We know the backlash that happened just last year in the midterms because of the overturning of Roe v. Wade. So is this political suicide for this governor?
I personally believe that it is. I mean, overall, let's think about this logically. Abortion is not a political matter. Abortion is a personal and medical matter. There should be no laws across the country banning abortion in any way, shape, or form that tell you what you can and cannot do. I noticed that there was a part of the law that said that after so many days, if you were, say, raped by someone, that you would have had to report it in order to be able to get the abortion. I personally think that's ludicrous because, yes, you may have reported it, maybe you haven't reported it, but at the end of the day, that's your personal decision to either keep a child or to release a child. I can't necessarily say I'm against abortion or for abortion because I just say it is about what is your situation. How are you deciding to handle it for your own life? We should not be making this a political anything. And as long as they keep doing this, I want to say absolutely it should be suicide if it's not going to. It should.
And we know, Allen, Kim Reynolds has been in the news for other things, in addition to this just really dramatic effort on her part to ensure that Iowa joins Indiana, North Dakota, South Carolina, and those other states that basically have near bans on abortion. Donald Trump is tweeting or posting on Truth Social about Kim Reynolds, apparently pissed off that she's cozying up with Ron DeSantis, has not endorsed him yet, saying that she's going to remain neutral. And he's reminded her that she is in that job, according to him, because he supported her. Do you think Kim Reynolds is making this move on abortion to try to, solidify her super conservative, bona fides? Is this her way of saying, well, I may not be endorsing Donald Trump, but don't get it twisted. I'm still very much, on the right of most conservatives?
So on the Donald Trump issue, either you're with me or you're against me. And since she didn't go for him, he's against her. So she's already out along with Ron DeSantis. They have absolutely no chance of doing anything. If Trump fails, then she's still done, because that part of the percentage are true heart Trumpians. I think on the legal front, which I think is important to talk about, what she did legislatively is she passed a bill that had already been challenged in court and lost. So that's a statement about her, how bold she is in this place to do something the court already said you cannot do, to sort of legislate through. And so that's part of the conservative platform, right? Unlike Democrats, they're willing to do it. No, it's not going to pass legal muster, but do it anyway to say they did it and then have it sort of turned back, which, I will say Biden to do that with student loans. We're going to move forward with this and then sort of see where it goes. But a little bit different, though. He didn't know from the very beginning. A court had not said you could not do this, right? It was a question of if you could. So I'm wondering what her strategy is, right? Because that's one of the things that you don't really have right now in the Republican Party is the woman head leader who's going to do something in the party. You really don't have someone who's stepping out heads above. Nikki Haley is not that person, right? So we're looking for someone to make that sort of inroad, and maybe that's what she's trying to go for, right? Because we also know the lady from wherever she's from that lost the governor's race is crazy and was in the media before. She's also not that person.
Yeah, then you raise a really good point about the legality. Basically, law be damned, right? Courts be damned. I'm going to use my power as a Republican governor and my power over this GOP-controlled legislature to bring you back in this special session to pass a law, as you said, that had already been challenged in the courts. So, and she knows that there's going to be yet another court challenge. And based on, how the court has already ruled on this, she's likely to lose. But I think you're right. These Republicans, many of them are vying for attention. They're vying for ratings. They're vying for interviews on Fox News. They're not necessarily doing things that are in the best interest of their constituents or things that are, that comport with legal precedent. It's just all about the attention. How many likes can I get? Can I go viral? Can I get the attention of the base? And she, I think, because of what's going on with Trump, this may just be another way for her to distract from Trump's attack on her, which I presume are only going to become more intense if she continues to be what he calls cozy with Ron DeSantis. Some good news, Mona Lisa. Finally, inflation. People's paychecks or should be stretching a lot further than they have been. That gas price at the pump should be down. Your grocery bill should be lower. All of this at the same time that unemployment rates are low. Joe Biden is killing it on the economy. Well, folks like to say the Republicans are better in terms of managing the economy. Not true, gaslighting. But despite what he's doing with the economy, there's also this headline about young folks being pissed off. How do we, jive the two when you have these phenomenal inflation numbers, but you have young people saying, we're not happy. We still not happy.
Can I say that they ain't never happy? Okay. All right. Let me just keep it real. I have a 30-year-old daughter. I won't say my age, but I have a 30. And so
she's still a millennial. She's a millennial.
And then I have some 25-year-olds and some 26-year-olds and some 23-year-olds that work for me, and they are never happy. Every day they wake up filled with anxiety. They've got one problem after another. And when you talk to them, all they ever think about is how old Joe Biden is. Okay, yes, he's old as dirt, okay? But if you can get past that and see what he's done thus far and really tune into that, these kids might be able to start to really, make their decision to vote for him, because at this point they're confused. They don't know what to do because all they want to do is stay in their state of it's giving me vibes of anxiety. It's giving me vibes of the old man scenario. Get out of that. Get out of that and go do your research is what I'd like to tell them. That's what they need to do. But at the same time, I think Biden should invest in a influencer campaign, like really go out and try to teach some of these younger people from the age of 18, from the voting age, from the age of 18 on to 35, I'd say, right? Really try to teach them, what have I done? How have I affected your generation? How have I affected your life? And then when they see it and their eyes awaken to that, maybe they can be more decisive in their vote and make a better decision. Because most of them feel like, I don't even need to vote. It doesn't count. So what's the point? That's the most ludicrous thing in the world. I get mad when I think about it. I'm sorry. I just get so mad.
I see you getting all passionate. You're like, you just get upset thinking about it. Well, the other thing we should do, Mona Lisa, is stop paying for their gas, because maybe if they went to the gas station, I know I get happy when I see when the pump starts stopping and I'm only at about $70. I'm like, wait a minute. Has there been a drop in gas prices? Something's going on here. But I think a lot of that you and I are probably responsible for, because we probably are, providing too much, right? And they are so entitled that they can't even appreciate when gas prices fall, because if you ain't buying gas, you're not checking for the price of gas. When we come forward, I want to talk about how Biden is trying to address this young generation with some influencers, as you talked about. Will that be effective? Will that be enough? Because there is some real concerns as we move into 2024. And I want to ask Allen about men and their health and this outrageous and scary report out about men, Black men in particular, and cancer. Stay with us, KBLA Talk 1580.
If you're not listening to Tavis Smiley weekday mornings on KBLA Talk 1580, you're missing out. Everybody wants to talk to Tavis.
That's one reason, by the way, why I'm so thrilled to have this conversation with you today. The three people I always most hoped would interview me were Phil Donahue, Studs Terkel, and Tavis Smiley. Donahue's retired, Terkel's deceased, so this is a real thrill for me. And the reason why I have such respect for what you do is you have a historically informed conversation of depth and detail.
Be sure to tune in to Tavis Smiley weekday mornings, 9 a.m. to 12 noon on your unapologetically progressive radio station, KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. Is the pen mightier than the sword?
They say the pen is mightier than the sword. At KBLA Talk 1580, we not only have a lot to talk about, we have a lot to write about. Politics, relationships, business, empowerment, and culture. The all-star roster at KBLA Talk 1580 has you covered.
That's what it's all about.
Be sure to follow us on all our socials for our latest book releases, op-eds, essays, and commentaries from our hosts. And, of course, download the KBLA 1580 app as we strive to remain your most trusted, credible, and reliable source for the issues you care about. This is unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
What up, baby?
There are millions of boys and girls who are young, gifted, and black.
I'm young, gifted, and black.
And that's a fact.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
Hey there, I'm Jared Hill, president of the National Association of Black Journalists of Los Angeles, and I just want to say thank you for the benevolent $10,000 donation and scholarships for the next generation of black journalists.
And I'm Haywood Galbraith, photojournalist and founder of the Minority Photojournalism Institute. Thanks, KBLA, for your generous $10,000 scholarship gift to help us train the next generation of black photojournalists.
Congratulations to all the students who will benefit from the scholarship dollars raised at our Black History Month luncheon, honoring black legends in LA media. When we come forward at KBLA Talk 1580, we're bringing everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us.
Access granted.
In a survey conducted by the public opinion research firm Eviderus, KBLA Talk 1580 consistently emerged as the station of choice for black audiences in the Los Angeles media market and beyond. The survey also revealed that the vast majority of black audiences are concerned about the lack of black-owned media and are more likely to listen to talk radio that focuses on issues that impact the black community. For some reason, the other talk stations haven't quite figured that out.
If you think about KFI, well, KFI only has like a 3% black listenership. 3%. So there's a good 97% out there to support a station like KBLA.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black. Your black. Your black.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram at KBLA 1580.
Follow the leader. Are you ready?
The station leading the way with exclusive interviews,
Follow the leader.
stimulating conversation, and intellectual discourse that empowers, enlightens, and informs.
Follow the leader.
Follow the leader at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Keep following the leader.
Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Gotta stay fresh, my house shot with a rest bar, shot with a rest bar, shot with a rest bar.
Have you visited us online for the grand opening of KBLA.store? For the best in new merch, gift ideas, books, media, and more, log on to KBLA.store. Be sure to check out our KBLA team favorites at KBLA.store today. That's KBLA.store for all the official merch on your favorite talk radio station, KBLA Talk 1580.
The bounce is back.
Here comes the brand new flavor in your head.
Race, social justice, sports, politics, art, music, culture. We do it all on the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show. If you're not tuning in, then you are definitely missing out. It's the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show, weekdays from 2 to 4 only on unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580.
Like a brand new flavor in your head.
This is a rather bold pronouncement, but we think we can back it up. If you come across a radio frequency anywhere putting more variety and more diversity on the air than KBLA Talk 1580, we sure would like to hear about your discovery.
You got to have vision.
You can search, but we are confident that you won't find more shows covering more topics, hosted by a more diverse and inclusive lineup of talkers than the squad we have assembled here at KBLA Talk 1580.
This is the time, brothers. This is the time.
We've got something for everybody.
That's right.
Health and healing, history and humor, issues and events, empowerment and entertainment, all in one station.
What's really going on?
Free enterprise, you dig?
KBLA Talk 1580.
Yes.
Oh yeah. We got a lot to talk about.
King Kong ain't got on me.
If you're not listening to Tavis Smiley weekday mornings on KBLA Talk 1580, you're missing out. Everybody wants to talk to Tavis.
That's one reason, by the way, why I'm so thrilled to have this conversation with you today. The three people I always most hoped would interview me were Phil Donahue, Studs Terkel, and Tavis Smiley. Donahue's retired, Terkel's deceased, so this is a real thrill for me. And the reason why I have such respect for what you do is you have a historically informed conversation of depth and detail.
We are back, and you are listening to Areva Martin in real time, and I'm your host, Areva Martin, and this is Hour 1. So we are tracking today's trending news, and we are bringing you expert opinions from our contributors. In Hour 2, we are debunking the myth that men are by definition superior to women, and we are also talking with Congresswoman Barbara Lee, so make sure you stick around for Hour 2. Okay, Allen, we're talking about Biden and his problem with these Generation Z and millennials who are pissed off about him. And Mona Lisa, I think, put it best when she said they are obsessed with his age and the fact that he is a mature father and grandfather, and they can't seem to appreciate the significant policy wins and other things that Biden has done since he and Kamala Harris have been in office. Now, Biden says we're going to counter this by enlisting influencers like Tennessee Representative Justin Jones and Florida Congressman Maxwell Frost. Do you think these are the right guys? And is this the right plan?
So I think the first thing that we're missing is the problem, because I think the biggest problem is that people don't understand civics. And they think that the president has the impact on their life, and they don't realize that it's their local elected people who impact their lives more than the president does. So every problem that they're having locally, they are amplifying it and saying it's the president. So that's number one. And that is a problem. Since we're in community, I'm going to say this, it's about Black people to me, and I'll say this about Black people. They didn't show up during the last election, right? Black numbers were down across the board. That's why we don't have the governors. That's why Chambers didn't get elected with all the Black people who were in Louisiana. That's why we don't have the Senate, because people chose not to show up for whatever reason. And for that, I forgive you. In family, God bless you. Let's do better this time. Because now we know what's at stake, because we've seen the Supreme Court take action. The Republicans have told you what they're going to do to women and the Black people into affirmative action. They're already working on it. So amplify your ass to the poll to make a vote and make a plan today and register to vote, because Black people, specifically us, cannot say, I cannot afford to vote. And all those people, those stars and sideliners who were saying it's not important that you vote, to hell with them, right? Don't listen to those people at all, right? Cancel every one of them. Don't listen to none of them. If they don't want to vote because they have billions of dollars and they have millions of dollars, then it ain't for them. It is for you. And we've already seen this happen across the board. Enlisting young people is using that very populist thing of saying, okay, you got someone who's a celebrity and they're going to show up to celebrities. Well, they had Beyonce and they had Miss Washington and everybody else at the last event. People still didn't show out. So, and then people say, send me $100 check and all this other kind of foolishness. I think that we really need to take some focus and understand what it's about. It's not about handouts. It's not about what you're getting. It's about empowering yourself by the power of your vote. And that's the one place that we're all equal. All those people buying the Supreme Court justice, you don't have the money to buy a Supreme Court justice. But what you do have the money to do is to elect people in your jurisdiction and to pick people who will represent you in all these different places. You have seen it happen over and over again. It just happened here in Tennessee with the Justins, right? They told them, oh, you're too Black, sit down. And then people went out and they voted them back in the office. They wasted Tennessee money. You see it happening across the United States with women saying, okay, women, you don't count, you can't have this abortion thing, and now they're showing up. So it is time to build a coalition and to show up, because it isn't about the trans people. It's not about the gay people. It's not about the people at the border, because listen, border's down 70%. The economy's under control. You got a Black vice president. You got a Black Supreme Court justice, right? On your little rap sheet, what else did you need, right? A check. Okay, he tried to pay.
They had a check too. Remember, we had some checks. We had checks.
So, I'm gonna need you to show up. I mean, I don't know how I need to incentivize you to want a better life for yourself. That's the problem for me, that people feel like they need to be incentivized to make a choice not to be enslaved. That is the dumbest. I'm so pissed at the moment about this in community, right? Because I think Black people need to talk to Black people, mamas, aunts, all that need to talk. Churches, it should be going on every day to talk about political power and how they're coming after you, specifically since they did affirmative action.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, because Mona Lisa, you have millennial children, you work with millennials in your business. I'm cool with the Justins. I love the Justins. I love their story out of Tennessee. As you said, Allen have a very powerful story. I love Maxwell Frost. But I think from my experience doing voter registration and working on campaigns, people vote when they are talking to people that they know, that they trust. And it's really those grassroots efforts. It's my daughters talking to their friends who maybe didn't grow up in a household where voting was talked about, and them talking, friend to friend, colleague to colleague, student to student, much more so than listening to Justin Jones from Tennessee if I am a millennial or a Gen Z here in California. What's your take on that? What do you think is the best way? You mentioned influencers, and I don't want to discount the importance of influencers, but I think if we just focus on so-called influencers, we're going to miss the majority of those young voters.
Well, I'm going to say something that probably would be, accepted and unaccepted to a certain degree. But, if you hit it on the social media side, the TikToks, the Instagram, the Facebook and things like that, that's all they seem to pay attention to. It seems like that's their world. They live in this falsified world that as long as it exists in social media, then it's got to be real. So, that's why I was saying influencers, and maybe not so much celebrity influencers, but surrogates, people who you can find as leaders in the HBCUs. Go find, people who are leaders from the D9, and their children and their children's children, and just get people out there across every single major city where we need the Black turnout and we need the young vote to turn out, and start having not pep rallies, what am I saying? Not pep rallies, the town halls. Start having town halls in each one of the cities, and start getting these people to come out and talk, and really use social media as their strong power, because they are going to listen. They're going to listen to whatever is said if you get a TikTok video rolling out there.
Yeah, and Allen, I saw an article today. I didn't even read it. I started to read it, but I have to limit what I put in my brain, because some stuff I just feel like is junk. But Robert Kennedy was hugging, I don't know if you saw this, he was hugging Ice Cube. And he was talking about, I think he called him an esteemed civil rights leader. I know it was civil rights leader. And I was like, okay, Robert Kennedy, we know you got issues. But you got to do better than that. How is it that Robert Kennedy Allen is equating, and not to say Ice Cube is not in his own way an activist and he hasn't done things, for the community, but
he ain't a civil rights leader. I'll say it.
Yeah, let's just keep it real. Let's keep it a buck. He is not a civil rights leader.
Okay, he made a movie. Great. Okay.
Yeah, he bought a basketball league or something. He's made some records.
3-on-3. Okay, that ain't changed people's lives across the board. And he did some detriment in the last election alone by saying that that Biden didn't reach out to him. And when Cedric Richmond, who was my classmate from Morehouse, in fact said he did reach out to him, gave his phone number. I mean, in the photograph, he's not standing between two civil rights leaders, right? It's between two other white dudes, and the other white dude, I don't even know who his name is, right? So look at the character of the photo, and who is this Kennedy guy anointing anybody, right? Camelot is dead. So I don't even know what that fiction was in the mind of sort of saying, I find it odd that in Black communities, they have someone's telling us who our leader is, right? Why aren't we saying who he is or showing up in that sort of way or have some history of doing civil rights stuff, right? I always find that it's odd to me to have that sort of inflection from someone who just made a hit or was on television or is a celebrity to sort of talk about things that they don't have knowledge about. Politically, someone who hasn't worked in the community, someone who doesn't have a history of working in the community, right? I didn't see him at any of the marches in Washington, D.C. I've never seen him be part of any of the urban leagues or any of the other civil rights movements across the board. He might have given money, and congratulations for that. So did other people. But a civil rights leader, he is not.
Well, we've seen that with Donald Trump. Donald Trump, remember, he would grab Don King. He would grab any Black celebrity, Jim Brown, that he could find and anoint them as like the leader of the Black community. That seems to be, out of the playbook of these white leaders themselves who are so out of touch and so tone deaf about our community. And rather than talk to people that have been, as you said, working on issues of civil rights, social justice issues, they find these celebrities, and maybe because they think they have a big platform on social media, they're going to, get a photo op or something. But it was really, I said, I didn't read the story. I was like, okay, you know what? Some stuff I don't even need to fill in my brain.
I just want to give this small piece of legal advice, though, and it's not really legal in a sense, but it's really the key to the grail for voting. If every Black person that was able to vote voted, we would rock the elections, because in general, Americans don't vote, just like we don't have passports. So if we all determined that we were going to vote, if we all voted, we would see it drastically different. And on top of that, as a lawyer who is in civil rights, we saw that there were 2 states that had gerrymandered districts that are not constitutional, that currently have people in Congress making rules that should not represent those areas. That is a farce of law to me. How does that happen? As a lawyer, you cannot respect that now you have people who are seated who should not be seated constitutionally because the Supreme Court removed something and they said this is illegal, but now you still get to deal with that into the next election. That is, just crazy to me.
Not only if all Black folks voted, if all Democrats voted, Republicans would never, ever win any elections, and definitely they would never win the House, the Senate, or the White House. When we come forward, we're going to talk about this alarming new report about Black men and cancer. How do we save the lives of our brothers? Right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Access granted.
In a survey conducted by the public opinion research firm Eviderus, KBLA Talk 1580 consistently emerged as the station of choice for Black audiences in the Los Angeles media market and beyond. The survey also revealed that the vast majority of Black audiences are concerned about the lack of Black-owned media and are more likely to listen to talk radio that focuses on issues that impact the Black community. For some reason, the other talk stations haven't quite figured that out.
If you think about KFI, well, KFI only has like a 3% Black listenership. 3%. So there's a good 97% out there to support a station like KBLA.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your Black. Your Black. Your Black.
Follow the leader.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Follow the leader.
Be sure to follow us on Instagram at KBLA 1580.
Follow the leader.
Are you ready?
The station leading the way with exclusive interviews,
Follow the leader.
stimulating conversation, and intellectual discourse that empowers, enlightens, and informs.
Follow the leader.
Follow the leader at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
Keep following the leader.
Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Gotta stay fresh, my Hell shot with a rest by, shot with a rest by, shot with a rest by.
Have you visited us online for the grand opening of KBLA.store? For the best in new merch, gift ideas, books, media, and more, log on to KBLA.store. Be sure to check out our KBLA team favorites at KBLA.store today. That's KBLA.store for all the official merch on your favorite talk radio station, KBLA Talk 1580.
The bounce is back.
Here comes the brand new flavor in your head.
Race, social justice, sports, politics, art, music, culture. We do it all on the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show. If you're not tuning in, then you are definitely missing out. It's the D.L. Hughley Afternoon Show weekdays from 2 to 4 only on unapologetically progressive KBLA Talk 1580.
Like a brand new flavor in your head.
This is a rather bold pronouncement, but we think we can back it up. If you come across a radio frequency anywhere putting more variety and more diversity on the air than KBLA Talk 1580, we sure would like to hear about your discovery.
You got to have vision.
You can search, but we are confident that you won't find more shows covering more topics, hosted by a more diverse and inclusive lineup of talkers than the squad we have assembled here at KBLA Talk 1580.
This is the time, brothers. This is the time.
We've got something for everybody.
That's right.
Health and healing, history and humor, issues and events, empowerment and entertainment, all in one station.
What's really going on?
Free enterprise, you dig?
KBLA Talk 1580.
Yes.
Oh yeah. We got a lot to talk about.
King Kong ain't got on me.
If you're not listening to Tavis Smiley weekday mornings on KBLA Talk 1580, you're missing out. Everybody wants to talk to Tavis.
That's one reason, by the way, why I'm so thrilled to have this conversation with you today. The three people I always most hoped would interview me were Phil Donahue, Studs Terkel, and Tavis Smiley. Donahue's retired, Terkel's deceased.
We are back, and make sure you stick around for hour 2 because we're going to be talking about the myth that men are somehow superior to women because they were the so-called hunters and women were the gatherers. There's some new studies out by noted archaeologists that say that has always been false, and now they're revealing what history really shows, which is that women were hunters themselves and how we need to rethink many of the ways that we have always assumed that men were superior to women. And also Congresswoman Barbara Lee is going to join us to talk about the California Reparations Task Force 1,000-page report and talk about some politics and what's going on in D.C. But I'm back with my contributors, Mona Lisa Johnson and immigration attorney Allen Orr. Okay, Mona Lisa, you said you have some thoughts about this new report out about Black men and skin cancer. The report says that skin cancer is more deadly in Black men than expected, and it shows up in unexpected places like fingernails and the bottoms of their feet. The study went on to say that particularly dark-skinned Black men, skin cancer can often be missed by doctors who can't see, changes in their skin color because of the pigmentation. So what are your thoughts about this?
Yeah, well, first of all, health inequities have been a problem for decades. Let's face that. And the pandemic only raised the dirty curtain, in my opinion, to show the problem and what was really there. And, the study reveals on every level that the Black community for a long time has had cancer. This is not anything new. That we know that it hits us differently than any other community. We know that there has been so many people who've experienced racial injustices from their doctors, where I'll give you a perfect example. A Black man would go into a doctor and he would say, I have these symptoms, and they would just blow it off as, it's probably nothing, you'll be okay. When you're sitting there with cancer in 4th stage, and the next thing you know, when it is found, you're at your deathbed. So in my opinion, it's been going on for decades. And I just feel like the pandemic showed us that, we need to do something about it.
No, absolutely. Health inequities is a huge issue. We know that particularly not just men, but Black women in particular face a lot of issues, barriers, discrimination in our healthcare system. This myth that many doctors still believe that somehow we have this higher threshold of pain. We know that Black women are often dismissed. Their complaints about pain, their symptoms are often dismissed. I've been involved myself as an advocate for an older Black woman who was basically told to go home and get on hospice and die because she also presented with a malignant tumor. And by advocating for her, getting her to a different doctor, she was able to have surgery. She's up, back, walking around. Not to say that she still, is not sick or doesn't have cancer, but her quality of life was instantly improved. And it's been extended because she got to doctors that cared and had a different lens. So, Allen, one of the things we know it's the healthcare system. We know it's biased. We know it's biased in a way that disfavors Black folks, but we also know Black men, y'all got issues. Since we were talking to the community today, y'all got issues with going to the doctor, this macho kind of attitude, this sense of, being invincible, that nothing can get me down. I don't need a doctor. Earthquake has a comedy special out where he talks about, getting a rectal exam for prostate cancer and how challenging it was, as he was encouraging men to do so. He was making jokes about it, but he was definitely saying, get your vaccines for COVID, get all of your exams. But do you think we're making some breakthrough with Black men around, this issue of I'm so tough, I don't need the doctor?
So I think, and there are a couple other community things we should think about. One, right, access to healthcare, right? Some people just can't afford it, right? It's an affordability issue. And then there's also the fear of you just don't want to know, right? If it's going to kill me, why knowing is going to sort of help me in that capacity. I think the other challenge is that, Black people have not been the standard for science and education in this sort of skincare capacity. It's always been a different complexion for which we allocate our resources to make sure that people are tan, right? They're out tanning and we're out sort of doing sunscreen. I think also Black people have been told you don't need sunscreen. Well, that's a lie. And it's 110 degrees outside, you need sunscreen, you need to cover up, right? You get cancer just like everyone else. And you also need to make some good choices as a patient, right? You should ask your doctor, are you familiar with Black people and Black bodies, right? You don't go to your hairdresser to ask about your teeth. So when you go to your doctor, you want to make sure they know other Black patients, other Black community, things with Black people, cancer, like heart disease, all the numbers and statistics for Black people, because there are some differences that don't make us different as a race of people or as sort of a humankind, but there are some differences just based on the food, culture, native history that people should learn and sort of know about. So just like sickle cell anemia, right? So people need to be aware of the challenges that are faced in our community. You need to go to doctors, and some doctors make HBCUs, and some doctors may look like you, but also not care about you in the same way. So you want to make sure that they have the capacity to reach those sort of things. Cancer has killed the Black community over and over again between cigarettes, hair care products, right? Makeup, skin whitening cream, and all this other stuff has been sold to us that we're actually buying cancer from the shelf. And so we need to be aware of these things that are sort of adding to our health. And part of that is being aware, being an advocate for yourself. And there is a men's healthcare facility out of Morehouse College that people can go to and sort of see some of the challenges for Black men. And you should search for those things. The AARP also is doing a good job of sort of doing representation for older communities of people and minorities and colors to sort of reach out to them and say, did you check on this? Did you do this?
Okay, but thank you. Great information. Now answer my damn question, which is, are Black men going to the doctor?
No.
Lawyer. Thank you for that wonderful lawyerly answer.
If they can afford to go, they're going. I think that's the challenge. But yes, I think there's an apprehension, and I don't know how to reach it in the same way. No. The answer is no. Are they going in the numbers they should be going? Are they getting the checks they should be having? Absolutely not. And I can't address the fear. I guess the concern is that someone's going to tell me I'm going to die, and hearing it is going to make me die, when in fact, hearing it may keep you from dying.
Yeah. What do you experience, Mona Lisa, in your own, personal circle? Do you have men who are like Allen said, hey, I don't want to know about it, so I'm just going to be in blissful ignorance. Something's growing out of my neck. I'm just going to hope that it goes away magically or something. Are you seeing men saying, you know what, I want to start preventative care. I don't care if it's bad news. I want the bad news because, maybe I can do something about it.
Yeah, so I'll say yes and no to that. Yes, I am absolutely, and have seen it for many years, up until Obama came into the office. I saw many of my family members. I saw my husband, well, now my fiance, because that was a husband. And I saw people from the past, growing up, my dad, my uncles and things like that, who just would not do it because they were the macho man. They didn't believe that the doctors would help them. They absolutely didn't believe in the system that would help them. Then when Obama came and Obamacare kicked in, or I know it's not really physically called Obamacare, but we call it Obamacare in the community. When it kicked in, they started to realize that they could go online, they could actually get insurance. If they didn't make any money, they could get insurance. If they made $20,000 a year, they could get insurance, some for free, some for $20 a month, $50 a month. I started seeing people because I began to educate everyone around me. And then I started putting it all through my social media that, hey, you don't have to go without insurance. Right. You can go online and you can get insurance every day, just like anybody else. And you can have the same access like everyone else. You just got to do the work.
No, that's a really good point. I actually had a brother-in-law who didn't vote for Obama and was not a Democrat and still isn't. But boy, when Obamacare became available, he got him some Obamacare and he went and took care of every medical condition he had. So we would always tease him, you know what? You didn't even vote for Obama. Get off that Obamacare. But, you know, we were very happy as a family that he decided to get insurance and to take care of, his health because, your health is your wealth. And that's one of the things we want to make sure folks understand is, without your health, you basically have nothing. Nothing matters if you do not take care of your health. So we hope this report out encourages more men to check out their skin. Start wearing that sunscreen, as you said, Allen, not out there sunbathing, not thinking that Black folks don't get skin cancer because we do, and really take to heart what Mona Lisa said about finding you some affordable health care because affordable health care is there. And then there's centers like the one at Howard University and other places where you can access health care. Thank you. We are out of time. Thank you, Mona Lisa Johnson. A pleasure to have you. I hope you will come back and join us. And Allen Orr, always a pleasure to see you, my friend. When we come forward, we're going to talk about those myths that have made men and women for a long, long time in this country believe that men were superior. And we're also going to talk to Congresswoman Barbara Lee. Stay with us right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Thanks.
Access granted.
In a survey conducted by the public opinion research firm Eviderus, KBLA Talk 1580 consistently emerged as the station of choice for Black audiences in the Los Angeles media market and beyond. The survey also revealed that the vast majority of Black audiences are concerned about the lack of Black-owned media and are more likely to listen to talk radio that focuses on issues